All right, all right. We should be live now. I believe we are live on Facebook as well. Looks like we are. Excellent. Success. So, jump back over in here. And the low back pain workshop that we just did has been recorded. That will be uploaded a little bit later. Today, right now, 3 p.m., we get to focus on my most favorite topic is raising healthy kids naturally. And since I opened my practice way back in 1999, this has been the lifeblood of my practice. Taking care of families, it is what I am most passionate about. I truly believe in my heart of hearts, and I know from time and experience that the more we can help these beautiful little kids from the time that they're born, even before that, in preconception and during pregnancy, um, what mom and dad are doing will determine how these guys will grow and develop and live their life. And I truly believe that from the moment every one of these beautiful kids are born till their very last breath of life, they should be checked regularly by a chiropractor and within 24 hours of being born. I just have been so blessed over the years to take care of so many pregnant women and infants. I've been in labor and delivery units. I've been at home births. I've been, you name it, on both ends of the spectrum of life. And it's just truly humbling and honoring when a new parent hands over to you this perfect little baby, this most treasured little person in the world to them. And it brings a tear to my eye almost every time. But the sad state of affairs today is that many of these kids being brought into the world are being brought into the world unnaturally through a scheduled C-section. They're loaded up with vaccines and medications right from within moments of being born. And their immune system, their body, their nervous system is never really given the opportunity to grow and develop and thrive and be challenged to grow stronger. And so today I want to unpack this topic for us and dive into a whole bunch of different areas to kind of set the table, lay the foundation for things that you can and should be doing if you want to raise your kids in a healthy, natural way. Now, look, I don't pretend to have all the answers. I've got some really good ones. I don't have all the answers. And if you know me, you know that when people come to me, when they come to our office, when they come to any of our practices to see any of our doctors, we will never ask you to do something that we're unwilling to do for ourselves or for our own family. And so, when anything is ever out of our wheelhouse, if we think that you will be better served by seeing another healthcare provider, another specialty, anything, we will make a referral by all means. And so, what we want to do here is talk about what is natural and what is right and how we should be growing and developing, not all of the exceptions. See, what's become commonplace for us is that pain and dysfunction and disease and illness and medications and vaccines, that's become the norm. And if you don't do those things, you get shamed as if you're a bad parent. Well, that is not the truth. We are here on God's green earth. We are put here by design with perfection, and our bodies are designed to be healthy and thrive from the moment of conception till our very last breath of life. So let's dive into this topic on raising healthier kids and what every parent needs to know. Whether you've got little kids or big kids doesn't really matter. Whether you're a big kid yourself doesn't really matter. The same principles apply. So let us dive in here and begin. So let's look at the brutal facts. You know, the fastest growing medicated segment of our population today? It is children. Yes, indeed. Fastest growing medicated segment of the population. Let that sink in for just a minute. So here are some brutal facts for you about the world that we live in the US of A, in the healthcare, disease care, crisis care system that we have. My question for you, somewhat rhetorical, is which nation spends more money on healthcare than any other nation on the planet? Yes, winner, winner, chicken dinner. US of A, we do. Who takes 80% of all the prescription drugs in the world, but takes up less than 5% of the population? Yes, correct again, United States of America. We also claim to consume about 50% of all of the painkillers on the planet, but yet we only have 5% of the world's population. Our approach is not working. Where does the US rate in healthiest nations? Ratings by the World Health Organization. And we rank Out of 40 nations that they've ranked, we're at number 38. Depending on which year and which study, we may be at 38 or we may be at 40. And what that should go to tell you and to kind of illustrate the purpose as we begin to dive in here is that more money doesn't mean better results. More tests, more medications, more drugs, more vaccines, more surgeries doesn't equal better health. It does not equal better results. Now, let me say this, that we are in the best place on the planet, God forbid, for crisis care, for life saving, for any type of intervention like that that's needed. We wouldn't want to be any place else in the world. But what we have done is we've taken sick care and we've applied it to what once was relatively healthy society, and we've created a very sick society now. We do not have, for the money that we spend more per capita, per person, on healthcare and what we call healthcare than any other country in the world, and yet we don't have the best health to show for it. That is not acceptable. It is draining our human and economic resources, and there's a better approach. So let's dive in. So there's a study here on overall child well-being. I'm going to give you a link that you can check out yourself. But overall child well-being comes down to 4 categories here. Then economic support and well-being for that child via the family unit, the education that they have access to, the general health practices of the family unit, mom and dad, siblings, and the healthcare that they have available to, and the family and community, their surround sound support system, okay? Now, health comparison. They ranked each of the states. Where do we rank in Florida? We rank, ready for this? In those 4 categories, 34 out of 50. We need to do better. We have to do a better job for our kids. This is the website. You can go here, you can look up whatever state that you want, and it gives you all the details, all the data. But overall, Florida ranks 34 out of 50. There's 33 other states that are doing better in those 4 areas for their kids than what we are. Not acceptable, okay? I think we should all say, not on my watch. This is our future, and we need to raise these kids to think, to function, to thrive in the world to come. And we're doing 34 out of 50 in the categories of economic, education, health, family, and community. We have to do better, friends. All right, so children's health, their health as a child shapes their health for the rest of their life, and mental health and physical health. So percentage of US children with less than optimal health nationally is about 16%. We've concluded that medical care and genes actually play a relatively minor role compared to the influence of the physical and social conditions in which children grow up. Most of us are trained to believe that genes make up our entire health picture, and it's false. It's a big bunch of lies. They do influence our health. However, it's about 28% of our overall health picture that are influenced by our genes. Okay, so genes get turned on and get turned off all the time throughout our lifetime based on lifestyle and factors, based on environment. That is called epigenetics. It's a pretty cool, interesting, wildly fascinating field to check out, epigenetics. And what that says, epigenetics, it says what mom and dad's health was like, what my environment I grow up in, the choices that I make will determine largely which genes in my genome get turned on and which ones get turned off, which ones get expressed and which ones don't. Just because I have a gene for something doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to express it. Do I have the likelihood to express it? Yes, I do, emphatically. But I don't have to express it. I have a little more control over that than what I've been led to believe. And a lot of this comes down to, again, what our kids are living and seeing and growing up with within the family unit in the home. So higher levels of education by the parent. Now, I'm not talking about being a PhD or master's degree, but yes, higher education that way, but also worldly knowledge and health knowledge and application of that. Most importantly, the behaviors that they see. You cannot tell your kids, no, don't eat this. It's bad for you. It's unhealthy for you. And then them watch you doing the same thing. You can't tell your kids to go outside and play to get some exercise and sunlight and fresh oxygen while you're sitting down in your lazy boy chair around the couch with a bag of chips, a beer, and a cigarette watching the game. You have to do what you're asking them to do. If you're not doing that, they're not going to do it either. They are going to mimic more of what we do than what we say. You get that? I think you do. All right. So actions speak way louder than words. So if we keep doing what we've always done, we're going to keep getting what we've always gotten. There's got to be a better way, and there is, and I'm going to propose that to you. But before I do, as I mentioned, I've been in practice for about 25 years now. And first 17, 18 years of my practice, I was up in Rhode Island. That's where I practiced, had a great family practice up there. Saw a lot of pregnant women, infants, and kids. I took care of college athletes, high school athletes. I had a couple pro athletes, Olympic athlete that I took care of. Wide array in a family practice, truly blessed. The things that we train people up to do are not nearly as influential as what they see us doing. Over the years in that practice, I had more positive results with people doing things with them versus just telling them to do something. So not just kids, but adults, we all model the things that we see, not just the things that we hear. Words come and go. You can have a lot of great words, but if there's no actions to follow that, you don't see the results. So instead of teaching our kids to base their life on fantasy, right? By not doing what we say we're going to do, we want to teach them to base their life on facts, make good decision on facts. Remember, the theme for today is good data, good decision, good facts, good fruits, right? Bad data, bad decisions, bad facts, bad fruit. The fruit of our life. We should be known by our fruit. Our fruit is a result of our actions. So if we keep doing what we've always done, we're going to keep always getting what we've always gotten. And there has to be a better way to doing that. And that better way is understanding that we are designed to be healthy. Our kids are genetic super freaks, right? They're the part of the lucky sperm club. They're the winners. They're genetic super freaks. We need to teach them that and help them understand that how amazing their body is. From the moment of conception until the very last breath of life, there's an intelligence in that body that's with us, that flows from our brain over our nervous system, that stirs those cells to life, that makes their body strong and adaptable. So you're designed to be healthy. We are designed to be healthy. Bottom line, our genes. I talked about genes already. We've got about 20 to 25,000 genes. Our lifestyle, environment, the decisions that we make will largely influence the genes that get turned on and turned off. Your environment, epigenetics. Please look that up and study it. Epigenetics, it's pretty cool, fascinating field. We all have genes for disease and we all have genes for optimal health. Remember, we're programmed for optimal health. Now, are there exceptions, birth defects, other things like that? A baby that's born prematurely? Yes, but there's usually a source to all of those things. At some point in time, there was interference to the perfection within mom or dad or that process that caused those genetic traits to get triggered. So we're not going down that road right now into whole genetic discussion. However, just understand that we're designed to be healthy. Our genes can be turned on and turned off by influences in the environment, pre-conception, during conception, during pregnancy, and as we grow and develop, okay? Our body, as I mentioned, is intelligent, it's smart. If it can take two cells, that sperm and the egg, bring those cells together in mom's body, unfold those genetic blueprints, and make us who we are today. In a period of about 9 months, unfolding those genetic blueprints, building a heart in the first 18 days that's pumping and working. Amazing. If your body's smart enough to do that, do you think it's smart enough to overcome a virus, a bacteria, a little bit of dirt, to heal a broken bone, to heal a cut? Absolutely. Absolutely. So we have to rest confidently knowing that there's an intelligence in our body that stemmed from those two tiny cells that unfolded those genetic blueprints and made us who we are today. In a very short period of time, 18 days, that heart was beating. You've seen the billboards on the side of the highway, right? But blood was pumping, digestion was happening, healing's happening all the time through and over this nervous system. We don't have to think about these things. We need to train our kids to think this way. We need to teach them to think this way and to honor their body. Oftentimes, we're training our kids very young that anytime there's a sniffle, a sneeze, a cough, an ache, a pain, any type of symptom, that it needs to be medicated. So what our children are learning very early on is that when I don't feel well, the people who love me and care about me the most give me drugs to make me feel better. They give me medicine, meds to make me feel better. When those medicines or meds don't work, the people who love me and care about me the most take me to the people that they trust the most, the doctors, the ones with the white coat and the stethoscope. And when those doctors evaluate me, they give me drugs to make me feel better. I don't care if it's a sniffle, a sneeze, a cough, an ache, a pain, an emotional, a psychosocial emotional disorder, anxiety, depression, whatever it is being reinforced time and again. Feel bad, take drugs, feel bad, take drugs. Is it any wonder by the time these kids get to junior high school or high school, boyfriend or girlfriend breaks up with them. They don't make the cheering squad, the cheering team, the dance team, the football team, the wrestling team. Some life event occurs. They don't know how to process it emotionally. They feel bad. They lean towards taking drugs, either knowingly being put on a prescription, or they're looking for some type of illicit drug on the street because that's what they've been trained to do. Numb themselves, feel bad, take drugs. That sets up a lifetime of drug addiction. Once you have an addict, you've got them for life. Third and most important tip here, our kids need to know this. Your nervous system is the master system of the body. Okay, it's an intelligence that comes from our brain down the spinal cord, through and over that nervous system, and stirs all the cells to life. It's the electrical system of our body. It's the most highly coordinated and complex system of our body. Our nervous system is the master system. We literally live our lives through our nervous system. It has to be kept healthy and free from interference for us to express health and wellness over our lifetime. Our spine is our lifeline. It's literally the suit of armor that protects that delicate spinal cord and nerves. There's 24 bones in that spine that house and protect that nervous system. Now, think about this for a second. From the time that our kids are little and the time that we were little, before my family knew about chiropractic, we were trained to, well, we weren't trained to, we were just taught, you just brought along with you. You're getting your teeth checked, and then you're going to brush and floss. You're getting your eyes checked. You're getting your ears checked. You're going to see the medical doctor for a well checkup or whatever they call it. And you're going to do these things. But never did we take time, or never was it told to us that we should be getting the most important part of our body checked, our spine, our nervous system, by a chiropractor through every stage of growth and development to encourage the growth of a healthy spine. A healthy spine encourages the growth of a healthy individual and expresses optimal health. Instead, what we've been trained to do is not even think about the spine, the main support structure of the body, the spine that houses and protects that delicate nervous system that stirs all the cells to life, that makes your heart beat, your lungs breathe, your food digest. It gives you an immune response. It makes your eyes see, your ears hear. It makes us feel and see the world that we live in. Never once were we trained to think about that. We need to teach our kids about that nervous system, the connection of that nervous system to how they heal, repair, adapt, think, love, digest, everything. It all comes back to that nervous system. They need to learn that now. Unfortunately, in today's world, our modern life is naturally stressful. And for our kids today, they have so many different stressors than what we did growing up. So in today's world, the cool thing for me, when I was in practice, I started to say this before, then I got off on a little tangent, but I get to take care of a variety of different kinds of people, all walks of life in my practice, but my passion has always been kids. And for 17, 18 years up in Rhode Island, I worked in my family practice, taking care of pregnant women, infants, kids, all ages. Kids with autism. I had an autism part of my practice that we would see just on Saturdays. We would either go to this church or they would come to the office and see autistic families and kids. And the amazing thing to me is I experienced this from a clinical standpoint for 17 or 18 years. Then I came here to Florida. And as many of you know my story, I didn't have a Florida license to practice chiropractic yet. So I taught middle school here in Florida, and I taught life science. And I got to see and experience firsthand a lot of the things that I was, taking care of these kids for the years in my practice. And it was mind blowing to me to actually watch this unfold during a school day where these kids would come in the morning having stayed up on their computer, on their iPad, playing video games, not being monitored at night, staying up till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, coming to school like a zombie after waking up, dragging their tired butt to school, eating a sugar-filled breakfast of processed foods. No wonder they're falling asleep in class. No wonder they can't think clearly. No wonder they can't focus. No wonder they're sick all the time. They're getting a shitty diet. They're getting shitty sleep. They're not moving their bodies. Modern technology can be used for good or evil. Okay, our modern world is unnaturally stressful. The things that we grew up with, it's very different for them today. As you know, bullying today can be 24/7. Someone posts something online, it follows these kids around. It doesn't go away. So they've got a lot more stress on them. I think school today, their school schedules are way more demanding than what ours were growing up. A lot more scheduled and rigorous time, where I remember as a kid, we had a different sport we played for every single season. It wasn't one sport all year round. There's a lot more diversity and cross training that happened. Today, these kids are doing one sport many times year round, travel clubs, all these different things in hopes and spending, god awful amounts of money on these things. And very few of these kids are going to make it to college and beyond to actually continue their careers. And they're sacrificing an entire childhood. They're overtraining their bodies. They're not eating well. They're not taking care of their structure. Now, look, if you're going to do those things with your family, by all means, dive in and have fun and have a blast. But chiropractic should be a regular part of that routine for everybody, so you stay as healthy as possible and you're not living life reactively. More that we're plugged into technology, the more these kids that we're seeing, right? We're walking around like this all day, and adults, we're doing it too. We're on our phones and we're like this, forward head posture, okay? They're throwing these backpacks on their back that are way too heavy. In some cases, 40, 50 pounds, sometimes multiple packs. They've got one for school, they've got one for sports. And so they're throwing this weight sometimes just on one shoulder, but their head now has to come forward. It's straining the muscles in their spine. And then you add on top of that all the hours of video games, computer work, and now their cell phone usage. Creates a tremendous amount of stress on their spine and nervous system, and that it's causing them to grow into a weak and distorted position. Structure, our body structure, like any other structure, will always relate to function. Okay, natural development matters. It matters that, so for instance, from the time of infancy, let's go back, preconception, natural development, preconception, the choices that mom makes for her individual health and mind, body, and spirit, how she eats, how she thinks, how she moves and exercises, the lifestyle that she lives, as well as dad, that is going to influence the Lucky Sperm Club and the pregnancy that mom has. What the choices mom makes during pregnancy, that's going to determine how healthy or unhealthy that child is being born. During the birth process, is it a normal vaginal delivery? Is it in a squatting position, or is it with mom on her back against gravity, pushing up out of a tiny hole so that someone can sit at the end of the table? Or is it with gravity in a squatting position, so gravity assisted? Or is it by a scheduled C-section that's traumatic for mom and baby? Okay, the birth process creates the first subluxation for a lot of infants. Normally the baby's supposed to come down through that birth canal, and as the head engages mom's pelvis, the cranial bones that are not, they're not solidified, they overlap. They collapse a little bit. So when they come out, and the head comes out and it's delivered, there's a cranial blowout. There's an expansion there that starts really contributing to the flow of cerebral spinal fluid around the brain, spinal cord, and down. When we are born via C-section, that doesn't happen quite effectively. All right. So there's C-section is traumatic for mom. It's traumatic for baby. Believe it or not, yes. So you've got traumatic birth with C-section, which happens often. You've got traumatic birth that happens with forceps or vacuum extraction. Okay. You've seen the pictures of a vacuum extraction. Head looks like a cone head. Right. There's damage that happens to it can be hemorrhaging that happens in and around the brain. The spinal modeling, the skull has to get remodeled and reshaped. Whole bunch of damage. Those are traumatic births, right? There's a lot of trauma that happens to the neck and the spine that can cause the first subluxation for these kids. So every child, bottom line is, every child being brought into the world should be checked by a chiropractor within 24 hours of life. Once they've gone through that birth process, depending on your birth plan and choices, sometimes If you don't know, I'm going to get a little bit off topic, but it's relevant. If you don't know to ask the questions at birth, okay, the baby's taken away from you, erythromycin is put in the eyes, okay, it's an antibiotic. They're given a vitamin K injection for clotting, right? So and then there's vaccines, hepatitis B and things like that kids are getting injected with, right? They haven't even had a chance to take their first breaths or bond with mom yet. And they're already being bombarded by, this assault on their body. So we've gone through the birth process that creates the first subluxation. At that birth process, listen, when the baby's delivered, the cord shouldn't be cut. It should be left continuing to pump until it doesn't pump anymore. Then the cord should be clamped and cut. Unfortunately, what happens is there's something called cord stripping, which means everybody's in a rush. They want to get the baby unclamped they want to get the cord cut. So they clamp it down. They want to get the baby detached from mom. So what happens is they take the cord, the umbilical cord, they pinch it and they squeeze it, forcing the blood. It's called cord stripping. They force the blood into the baby's heart. Then they clamp it and cut. You know what that does is it creates heart problems from day one because they forced blood into the heart. All right, so now we've gone through the birth process. Now, if mom's breastfeeding, look, if the child is subluxated, misaligned in the neck due to the birth process, they may be able to turn their head one way, but not so far the other way. And I'm going to give you an example of this at the end of the talk, but they're not going to be able to nurse. They're not going to be able to suck. They're not going to be able to latch on. And so if mom doesn't have a good coach for nursing, guess what? They're going to end up on formula. That's going to affect that child's immune system. Mom's not being able to confer any of her immunity, any of her antibodies to that child to help support that immune system. Now, we've got toxin exposure. I already mentioned about the Hep B vaccine and antibiotics in the eyes. We're kind of waging a warfare. We're assaulting that child's immune system in a way that's not a natural immune response. We're injecting chemicals that have detergents and excipients. We talked about aborted fetal cells, formaldehyde, thimerosal, all these different things that are in these chemicals. And you wouldn't take a little shot glass of that and drink it yourself. Why would you inject it into your child that has a developing immune system, child that was just born? Then we've got fever, right? We've been trained to think that fever is a bad thing, right? When the body has an encounter with something that it wants to get rid of, it raises the set point of the body to burn off the bad stuff. If we went hiking or camping, we wanted to drink some water, we grab a pail of water out of the stream running by. We don't know if it's potable or not. So what are we going to do to that water? We're going to put it on top of the fire. We're going to boil it to burn off any of the bad stuff in it so that we can drink it. No different than a fever in the body. Let the fever run its course. And I'll share a story about that with you towards the end as well. Teething. When the child teethes, when the infant is teething, usually it's going to happen in cycles, usually every 4 weeks or so. They're going to get really slimy around their mouth. They're going to notice they're all broken out. They're going to get congested. They're not sick. They don't need an antibiotic. They don't need anything like that. Give them something to chew on. What we used to do is we used to like to use a wet face cloth that we would stick in the freezer, because you get that they can kind of gnaw on it a little bit, and that the roughness from the face cloth will actually help to break some of the skin. But as the teeth are coming down and pushing through, they're going to do this in phases, step by step over the weeks. The body is going to spike a fever sometimes also because there's bacteria that develop. The body wants to kill that off. It's natural. Don't suppress that. Let the body do its thing. What's amazing is that the body is so smart and it's adaptable. When you let it adapt to these situations, to a virus, to a bacteria, it can overcome that adaptive immunity that's built up. It's like strengthening a muscle. So that immune system gets stronger and more robust. These kids today that are being, ultra medicated, ultra vaccinated, ultra sanitized, continual, sanitize around their hands and head to toe, they're compromising the immune system. That's why we have such a high rate of allergies today. So ectopic, atopic infections, like asthma, allergies, eczema, things of that nature. They're atopic infections, right? There's problems with the immune system there. So they can be addressed, but as much as possible, encourage the kids to get dirty, to go barefoot, to touch and be wild and crazy kids the way that they should be, to strengthen the host as an infant, as a child, as a toddler, so they can be stronger and more robust as an adult. Again, unnatural development, it all matters. So we talked about C-sections, formula fed, over sanitizing our kids. It's almost like every one of these kids is in their own private quarantine bubble going through childhood today. God forbid they should drink out of a garden hose or go barefoot in the dirt, or my gosh, eat dirt or get dirt on them. Right? We're over sanitizing them. Average child today, by the time they're 6 months old, has already had their first round of antibiotics. That is not normal. When you take an antibiotic at any age, never mind at 6 months old, it's wiping out your normal flora, the good microbiota, the probiotics, the prebiotics that are in our body, in our gut, in our digestive system. It sets the stage for a weakened immune response. It sets the stage for candida type or yeast type infections down the road. It compromises the immune system. It sets us up for cyclical infections. Okay, so the early antibiotics, I mean, the more cycles of antibiotics your child has been on, the more immune system challenges they're going to have. So baby trains for life during their first 3 years, like training for a race, training for an event, right? You have a workout schedule, you're honoring, trying to get your body stronger, faster, leaner, increasing your endurance and your stamina, right? Strengthening the muscles. Well, that's what the baby's immune system needs to do during those first 3 years of life. Have as much exposure as possible so that they can mount a good, robust immune response. Remember, their body's smart, way smarter than you, I, or any other doctor. It's building antibodies against antigens and other foreign invaders there. It's having a memory so the next time it encounters those things down the road, it knows how to respond faster. Have faith in that. 5 vital factors that affect immune function during the school year, right? Big factor here, because we were seeing a lot of kids miss school. Yeah, that or they're getting medicated real quick and going back to school. But look, diet is such a huge thing. These kids are eating so much processed and fast foods, okay? Get them involved in cooking at home. I'm going to give you some tips and ideas as we get towards the end part of this talk. But right now, most kids are eating a diet that is toxic and deficient. Toxic and deficient. They're eating a lot of processed foods, so they're getting a lot of toxicity from there, and deficient with nutrients, vital nutrients that are important for brain development, for growth, for immune system function. They're not getting enough sleep because they're on their iPads and iPhones and playing video games and Fortnite and who knows what else they're doing till 12, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So they're waking up like zombies. So mom and dad, please, I'm not saying they can never use, the technology, but put limits on it. Have them be able to talk to people, to engage with people, to have a conversation with people. Far too often we see these kids in any social situation. First thing they do is they reach in their pocket, and some of us adults do it as well. In a social situation, first thing we do is we reach in, we grab it, and we start doing this. We start scrolling because we don't want to engage another human being in front of us. We don't know how to have a conversation. And that these kids need to learn that. They need to engage that so they can't hide here when there's a problem in life. That's not going to fix it. So they're not getting enough sleep, and they've got entirely too much stress on their plate. Now, I'm not saying like, oh, little Johnny has too much stress, let's just baby him. No, I'm talking about schedules. I'm talking about demands on their time. Let little Johnny and little Jill go out and play. Come home when the street lights are on. You're in a safe neighborhood. Monitor them, whatever you need to do, but let them go outside and play. Let them have some free time that's not scheduled and monitored. Let them be creative. Let them be kids. I can remember being a kid, being out in the woods all day long, exploring, hiking, getting in trouble with my friends, building forts, doing all kinds of crazy things, coming home when the streetlights are on. Right? Yes, I know in some cases it's not safe to let our kids out doing that stuff on their own today, but we have a neighborhood, you have a home, you have a yard. They can be creative and be outdoors and get sunlight and get dirty and get wet and get some fresh air and not be plugged into this. It should be mandatory for them every single day. Next is their posture, right? You look at some of the kids today, their growth and development, their posture, number one, going back to the deficient diet, their posture, their soft tissues, their muscles and ligaments, toxic and deficient. Okay, they have what's called a wellness deficiency syndrome. We want to infuse them with sufficient impure foods, movement, thoughts, activities. Get rid of the toxic and deficient lifestyles. Remember, we've always talked about an 80-20 lifestyle. When we're doing things right 80% of the time, our body can handle that other 20% if we want to just, if you want to have an ice cream, if you want to do something and have some fast food 20% of the time. But if you're doing that 80% of the time, the body's going to get fat, sick, weak, and stupid, and it's not going to be able to heal and respond and repair and adapt to the world that we live in. Okay, posture is really important as these kids are going through growth and development. So think about this: as the twig is bent, so grows the tree. These kids, as they're sitting in these chairs, as they're hunched forward at their computer and on their phone, whether they're carrying these backpacks or sitting slouched way down in the chair, this is all contributing to how their spine, how their posture, the main support structure for their body is growing and developing. And just because they don't have any pain or an ache or symptom, they're probably not going to get their spine checked until they're a 20 or 30 something year old, where we've already now have a problem that's been developing for a couple decades. Think about that. Think about what we're teaching them. If we're going to the chiropractor to get checked and adjusted regularly, why are we going to leave our kids at home to develop the same problems that we're going to fix? Get them checked soon after birth, within 24 hours, and then regularly through each stage of growth and development. Work with your chiropractor. Make sure you're seeing a chiropractor who's skilled and who has history and knows how to work with infants and kids of every age. Get their spine checked. It's probably the most important checkup that you could have for your family in your lifetime. All right, lack of movement is huge. I mentioned about not getting outside and not getting sunshine. Vitamin D is huge, not only for bone development, but for immune system. Okay, get outdoors, get some sunlight. Make sure every day, get outdoors at least 20 or 30 minutes. Get some sunshine. Hugely important for your immune system. In the winter months, again, we don't, even in Florida, we don't get enough vitamin D from the sunshine in the winter months. So you want to make sure you're supplementing with good quality supplements, and they're getting a good omega-3 and like a cod liver oil that has vitamin A and D in there to supplement for what they're not getting from the sun. And then again, a huge factor in development is a neurological assessment. So the neurological assessment comes with the structural assessment, right? Your chiropractor's primary concern is the brain and nervous system. The spine is our avenue to approach that suit of armor that protects that nervous system, that delicate nervous system. Any type of compromise, right? And we look at these kids, we're looking at a forward head posture. We're looking at shoulders that are out of balance, scoliosis that's developing. The things that can be corrected and prevented at a young age are being neglected because there's no symptom, there's no pain. We have to reverse our thinking. We have to move away from that illness paradigm and into the wellness paradigm and be proactive with things. That checkup by your chiropractor, so vital. It's the best gift you could ever give your kids. Are going a little further with nutrition now. So we all know this, the school lunches are not the best, but even outside of school lunch, if we're constantly eating fried, fatty, fast foods at home or when we're on the go, our kids are not getting the nutrition that they need. Now, thank the Lord for the body's innate intelligence that it can extract some kind of nutrients from this fried, fatty, greasy food to use to build and grow new cells in our body. But if we're not eating that, if we're eating that on a day-to-day basis, we have disruptions to our endocrine system, disruptions to the neuroimmune system. We have disruptions to soft tissues, the muscles and the ligaments aren't getting trace minerals. They're going to be more likely to be weakened, okay? We've got to fill the void with some healthy whole foods. And it's sad that some of these kids don't even know what certain fruits and vegetables look like because they've never seen them. All right, so how can you help? This is what we need to do. Get them involved in the kitchen. Number one, to get them involved in making a grocery list, get them exposed to trying new foods, a new vegetable or new fruit at least a few times a week. The more colorful, the more variety, the better. So make breakfast a top priority. That's the fuel that stokes the fire for the day. If they're not getting a good breakfast or they're getting a breakfast that's loaded with processed foods and sugar, their brain's not going to work properly. And you're going to wonder why they're doing crappy in school, why they can't focus, why they need glasses. Right? It's because their blood sugar's off. When we're consuming a lot of sugar, sugar has a similar molecular structure as B vitamins do. They bind to our cells at the receptor sites where B vitamins bind. And what we have found through research is showing that the more sugar that binds to those sites, it creates a B vitamin deficiency. And when we have B vitamin deficiencies, common symptoms of them: anger, aggression, depression, ADD and ADHD, neurobehavioral problems. Start with cleaning up the diet. It's a simple thing to do. You might not like the crying, kicking and whining about not getting the sweet because the child's not getting the sweet treat, but you have to break them of that addiction. It wreaks havoc on your health system, on your overall health. If you write this down, check out online, go to Google and search for Nancy Appleton, 126 Ways Sugar Destroys Your Health, and check out that list of things. It is quite eye-opening. And you want to start with some simple things. Just start cleaning up their diet. And a lot of you mom and dads, you're following a ketogenic diet, right? Good healthy fats. If you're doing it right, you're getting a lot of good healthy fats in your diet. You're doing that to lose weight. Well, that ketogenic diet was developed back in the late 1920s specifically for seizure disorders, okay? And that's also that if you're doing it right with good healthy fats and good whole foods, you get your kids start eating that way, and you're gonna see a difference with their cognitive abilities, with their function, with their body structure, okay? Whether, if they're overweight, they're gonna start to lose weight, they're gonna clean things up a little bit. And it's good food. Get them away from the sugar and the processed stuff. So pack their lunches, use leftovers from your meals, home cooked dinners, right? You're going to save a ton of money by not eating out, but the nutrition you're going to get from a home cooked meal versus one that's purchased on the go, light years ahead. You have control over what you're putting in, what you're cooking with, the oils that you're using, how it's prepared, all of that. Get your kids involved in it. Get rid of soda from the diet. There's no nutritional value to it, and it puts weight on tremendously. There's a ton of sugar in it, and forget the diet sodas because they're loaded with carcinogens, right? You've got artificial sweeteners in there. They do a similar thing. Yeah, you're saving calories, but it actually makes your body fatter, and it can either cause heart disease or they can be cancer-causing agents in there. So get rid of the soda. Little to no sugar, okay? Supplement. Right? Every day, there are 4 things from a wellness perspective that we should all be taking regardless of age. Number 1 is a probiotic, especially if these kids have been on antibiotics at an early part in life. They need a prebiotic and a probiotic to recolonate their stomach, their digestive system. So make sure they're getting a good probiotic. It's important for digestion, for bowel movements, for their immune function. Make sure they're getting vitamin D naturally from the sunlight, and possibly from a supplement. You could do a CLO, a cod liver oil supplement. They're getting vitamin A and D in there and a good healthy fat. It's a great anti-inflammatory for the body. And then make sure they're getting a good quality multivitamin. There's a lot of great, locally here, we usually send everybody down to our friends at the Green Apple. I would encourage you to go down there and visit them. Most of our nutrition should be coming from whole foods, but even the cleanest, healthiest diet that we have today, because of the depletion of nutrients in our soil, we don't get the nutrients that we did from the same foods 20, 40, 50 years ago. So you have to supplement. These are the core 4 that you need for daily routine from moms, dads, and kids. Probiotic, vitamin D, a good quality fish oil, and a multivitamin. So is this what you're thinking when you're thinking about foods? Is this what you're thinking? These healthy options for kids, right? Here's some things that you can look at. Number 1, smoothies are the best way to go. You get great quality nutrition and get a good quality protein. You can put fruit in there. You can put vegetables in there. You can put peanut butter in there. You can put bananas in there. You can put all kinds of stuff in there. But look, up here, top left, you've got a nice omelet there. Some of your kids, they don't even know what spinach looks like or broccoli looks like. Get them to taste it. You got a nice omelet with eggs and broccoli and spinach and tomatoes. Great solid nutrition, a good hot breakfast to start the day. You've got your Vitamix here, your smoothie. You blend all up where the fruit. Just be cautious on the amount of fruits that you put into the blender, because as you mash them down, now you're getting a rush of sugar into the bloodstream. So that will cause them to crash later on. If they're having a smoothie that has a lot of fruits in it, make sure they've got some nuts to eat. They get some protein with that. So it will kind of quiet down the effect that the sugar has on the bloodstream. Cut up some fruits in advance. You know, in our house, fruit and vegetables tend to go best when they're cut up and prepared as finger foods, so everybody, me included, we can just grab them easily out of the container and not have to cut or peel or prep them at all. So we'll take a little prep time, mainly my wife takes the prep time, truth be told, to put them in containers and packages, and they'll tend to go very quickly like that. Fun thing also to do with the fruits for the kids, either grapes, berries, anything like that, cut them up, stick them in the freezer. They make a nice crunchy cold treat for them. Great. So far right over here, you've got a frittata. You use a cast iron grill, you make that. Eggs, you can put some seeds in there, some other, similar to an omelet, but a little bit thicker. Those cut up nice so you can store those in the refrigerator. Can eat them as a handheld, or you can heat them up and eat them with a fork and knife if you want to. Some of you might look at that and call it quiche. We call it man pie in my house because quiche is a little too feminine for me. I like man pie better. Just kidding. Just like to have some fun. Don't be offended by that. Down here, you've got chia seed pudding, you've got oatmeal, you've got all kinds of good things. Look at this breakfast down here. You've got bacon in there, you've got avocado in there, you've got strawberries in there, some pancakes. You got some, if you're doing pancakes, there's some protein packed pancakes. One of them's Kodiak. You've got these here, Birch Benders, fruits, nuts, seeds, whole foods. Get them started the right way. Teach them how to make smoothies. They're really simple. Get a good quality protein. You can throw some collagen in there as well. Great for connective tissue, skin, hair, nails. Get the 4 supplements, the vitamin D, the omega-3, the probiotic, and the multivitamin. Get them involved in the food making. The more they're involved in shopping and list preparing and getting the food ready, the more likely they're going to want to eat healthy. Doesn't mean they can never have anything bad, but if they're overweight, if there's health issues, if there's focus issues, if they're on medications, if they've been recurrently sick, we need to start here, or it's never going. If you don't take the time and do the uncomfortable now, you're complicit in whatever health problems they have later on. Parents, how about that? Okay, you're responsible for what their health problems will be down the road. So let's take the bull by the horns and get this done right. Now, some of the kids who are really addicted to sugar, there's an herb, it's called Gymnema, Gymnema, Gymnema. And if you take that, it helps to regulate blood sugar better, but it also has a pretty interesting effect. If you take a tablet of it, or you can do a liquid, if you take a tablet, suck on it, or you do the liquid, swish it around in your mouth, you could eat the best tasting chocolate on the planet, and it's going to taste like wax. It gets rid of the sugary taste, so it breaks us of that craving and addiction for sugar. It's called Gymnema. It's an herb. All right, morning strategies. Get up and move. So best fuel for the morning. When we get up, start your day with some fuel and some fitness. Okay, so how are you starting your day? I did something a week or two ago on first thoughts, actions, and habits. That should apply to our kids as well. What are we teaching them how to start their day? Are they getting plugged into Instagram and Facebook and social media stuff, or playing a video game, coming out looking like a zombie? Or are they doing a daily reading? Are they doing any prayer or meditation? Do you do that at the breakfast table? Do you make a smoothie together? What do you do? What's their daily routine like? Sometimes these guys and girls, they're just tired. It just takes all the work to get them out of bed. But let's get them started, have them look forward to something in the morning. Fuel with a good smoothie. It's great for picky eaters. You got a wide variety of things. They taste great. They travel well. You can get your plants, your protein, and your fats in there one fell swoop. Make sure they move. Do a little bit of stretching. Do a little bit of mobility. Get on the floor with them. They can do yoga, they can do whatever, but if you've got a trampoline, any exercise equipment, bounce up and down on their mattress, do a run around the house or the yard, work out with you, do some core exercises, whatever. Get them started on the right foot for the day. Have them laughing, have them jovial, have them in a good mood. Talk about what's coming up in their day, in their life, because there's challenges or conflicts. Help allay any of their worries or concerns or their stresses when they're going to school. Right now, they're not in school, they're virtual, they're doing it from home. Some of our kids that were struggling in school before are thriving now, and some of our kids that were thriving in school are struggling now. Figure out your kids. I know that you are paying attention to them, but figure out what their needs are. Figure out what their needs are right now in this really strange time that we're living in with them not going to school, and figure out how you can best support them. Get them involved. If they're struggling at home, get them involved, maybe in the kitchen and the workouts and the meal prep and everything like that. And maybe they'll start to come alive. You start feeding them better, start putting time limits on their technology. They start coming around and being regular people again. All right. So first thoughts, actions, and habits are crucial. Sleep is essential, especially for these growing bodies. So it has to be consistent, a consistent sleep wake pattern. No screen time within at least the last 30 minutes. I would say at least hour or two before bedtime. Sometimes that's not realistic, but more screen time and blue light for those eyes, it's stimulating the brain. They can't sleep properly. We can't sleep properly. Okay, so no screen time. Have them do an e-fast, right? Or, 30 minutes before bed, have them do a bedtime routine. Whether they wash up, brush their teeth, whether they say their prayers, they do a little reading, whatever it is, but eliminate the artificial light. It stimulates their brain to keep them awake. That goes for tablets, TV, video games. Their bedroom should be dark whenever possible. And I know some kids might be afraid of the dark. Put a night light in there, leave the door cracked a little bit, whatever you might do. The most important time for them, the money time for sleep, is 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Most important time. That's where they're going to get their deep REM sleep. That's where their body's going to grow, repair, and heal during those times. Really, really important. A good laugh and a long sleep are the two best cures for anything. And that goes for us as adults. We cannot forget that. So stress is a big deal for these kids today. They've got things coming at them from all different directions, more so than what we ever had. They live in a very our modern world, as we've said time and again, is a very stressful environment, from teachers, friends, sports and schedules, their parents, their grades. Social media follows them around constantly. Their popular, all of these things that we had as kids magnified 100-fold today. So be sensitive to that, be attuned to what their needs are, dig in with conversation with them, and get them talking about life and friends, and make sure you know who they're hanging out with, what they're doing. I mean, these are all basic parenting things. I'm not telling you anything you don't know with this stuff here, but this is all part of a healthy lifestyle for our kids. Physical literacy, movement. Okay? It eliminates waste, and teach your kids why movement is important. Get off your butt, get outside and play and run and move for a little bit. It helps you move your bowels better. It increases circulation. It moves your white blood cells around more effectively. Okay. It increases lymphatic drainage. Your lymphatic system is always kind of filtering out waste products from the body. It reduces stress hormones. These kids who go through phases where they're having really bad acne, they're stressed out, they're not sleeping well, they're not eating well, they're not moving well. Start cleaning those things up. And just like we've seen with the canals in Venice, the smog in LA, and in the Himalayas, we've seen all that clean up. Well, the same thing happens when we clean up this ecosystem. Our body's a micro ecosystem. Get rid of the junk, it starts to clean itself up. Pretty cool. Okay. Kids are supposed to move before they start learning. In school, during the day, before you leave the house or at school, teachers, get your kids moving for a few minutes before you start your classroom. It stimulates their brain. Remember, I've said time and again, 90% of stimulation and nutrition to our brain comes from proper movement of our body, primarily the spine. When our body is sedentary, or when our spine is subluxated, that directly impacts cognitive ability, function, focus, clarity. Disease harbors in stagnant tissues. The more you move, the better you are. Okay, remember, it's like rats to a dump. The more stagnant our body and tissues are, the more likely they are to get sick and weak and inflamed and just diseased. All right, posture, the window to the spine. Backpacks, about 7,800 injuries a year. It should weigh no more than 10 to 15% of the body weight. Should have 2 shoulder straps, heavier items closest to the back, right? Clinched up, high and tight, not sagging way low. And it should be the length of your child's torso. Clean out the junk in there. You know what gets stuck in there. Check it, clean it out. We've had so many things disappear in the bottom of the backpack only to show up months later. Get in there, check it out, clean it out once a week with them. Make sure they wear it properly. Some of your kids who are having multiple backpacks, one goes on high and tight. The other one, make sure they carry close to their side and switch sides. Try to minimize the best you can. Eliminate whatever doesn't belong in there. Tech neck syndrome, right? Laptops, iPads, iPhones, technology. We're engaged constantly. Right now, the kids are doing school online constantly. This can lead to severe headaches, TMJ issues, upper back and neck pain, shoulder, arm, and hand issues, okay? Digital dementia. They get zoned in and kind of tunnel vision after being there. They've got to take breaks. They've got to get up and move and get sunlight and oxygen and food, nutrients, water, then go back to it. encourage them to look up. If they're going to be on their darn cell phone for a while or something, have them lie on the floor and look up at their phone, or have them hang their head off the bed like they're doing neck traction and look at their phone. That reduces that forward head posture. Look Up America, check out that website. All right, good time for a posture break. So if your kids are sitting at their computer for hours, Y, W, T's, and L's are really simple. So our Y's, we're going to have them sit back or stand up from their chair. Y's, right? Arms are straight up like this, stretching those shoulders back. Then we're going to pull our elbows down, forming a W, right? Mid back, shoulders, traps, chest, W. Then our L's, I can't go out with this hand, but our L's, bringing those shoulders back, head back. That's our T, and then our L, bringing the elbows back behind us, stretching that upper torso, neck and shoulders out. Really simple. Hold each position for about 20 to 30 seconds and repeat it a couple times. Take breaks and do that. This is great for the adults as well. Y, W, T's, and L's. Simple movement for the upper body. Posture analysis, as we go through these kids, we check them through every stage of growth and development. As you know, many of you know we use a posture screen. We take digital photos. We have a really cool way now with what's going on with the pandemic. We could actually do this virtually without anyone leaving their home. We could actually do a posture analysis on your kids or another adult through a remote screen that we have. If you have interest in that, let me know, message me, and I'll show you how to make it happen. It's really simple. So we can do virtual consultations with people, with their kids or other adults, to see what their structure and function is looking like, to see if any health concerns or challenges they could be developing can be prevented, or if there are things that need to be addressed right away, we can get them in right away to the office. Now, common reasons children visit our office: ear infections. A lot of kids end up with tubes, recurrent ear infections. This goes back to 6 months of age, having their first antibiotics, right? The inner ear, the nerves that control the eustachian tubes. Number one, in the kids, the eustachian tubes kind of go straight in. And what happens is that when the upper cervical spine is subluxated, those nerves get irritated. They tighten or close down that eustachian tube so nothing can drain properly. They're prone to infections because it can't drain. You take an antibiotic, it might kill the bacteria, but it's still in there, hasn't gone anyplace. Now they're set up for recurrent infections. So they respond chiropractic care in kids. They respond great to chiropractic care with ear issues and ear infections. Asthma, usually we'll find subluxations in the upper thoracic spine or their upper cervical spine that affect the respiratory centers. When we restore that nerve flow there, it eases the function of the lungs, the respiratory system. Many times they respond great. Constipation, not moving the bowels properly. The nerves from up top of the neck and then the lower spine influence the bowels. We clean up their diet, we move their body, that gets better. Bedwetting, another common issue. Yes, this all goes back to neurology. We're not treating these conditions, but these conditions respond to chiropractic care. Headaches, like we just talked about, tech neck, things like that. Leg cramps, growth spurts, development things. Obviously for wellness, allergies and skin conditions. And wellness again, yes, wellness again and wellness again. A lot of the kids coming in don't necessarily have a health issue. They're coming in for wellness care because their parents are understanders. They understand what needs to happen for them through each stage of growth and development, and chiropractic is a key part of their healthcare strategy. The big five that you have to learn and understand: the body's smart. It's self-healing, self-regulating. The nervous system's the master system of the body. If there's an interference in that nervous system, the body cannot heal and repair appropriately. Misalignments in the spine, called subluxations, are correlated with interference of the nervous system, and chiropractors are the only healthcare professionals that work to remove that interference by correcting, right, reducing and correcting the subluxation, removing the interference to that nervous system. Subluxation is a misalignment that occurs in that spine that can put pressure on the spinal cord or the nerve roots. It can damage the muscles and the ligaments. It leads to inflammation, nerve irritation. It will cause muscle spasm and weakness, lost imbibition or movement around the disc. It will lead the joint to being stuck and healing in wrong, leading to immobilization, degeneration, or arthritic changes. Microtrauma, these small repetitive postures that we see over our lifetime, contribute in a major way. It's not always the big things, although you watch a child learning how to walk, grow, run, and play, there's thousands of falls down on a soft developing spine that might not cause a pain. The kids get up and bounce right back. But if there is a subluxation that gets created and it doesn't get addressed and corrected, remember, as the twig is bent, so grows the tree. As they go through growth spurts, it's going to cause a distortion to their posture and lead to problems. Starting to make sense now, I hope. So really quickly, as I wind down here, this is my family, all right? To the left here of me, this tall guy, that's Matt, he's 16. My wife, Sherry, on this end, and my daughter, Kenzie. Now, Sherry and I have known each other for most of our life. We have been married now coming up on 20 years. When I started dating her, she was working as a hairstylist, and being around the chemicals and everything in that environment, she was starting to have recurrent every year sinus infections and breathing issues like a bronchitis. And the doctors told her that she had to be on antibiotics and she had to take these inhalers because she was developing adult onset asthma. Never in her life had had issues with that. So at that time, I was finishing up chiropractic college. I said, let's check your spine out and see what we find. And we found that she was subluxated in her upper thoracic spine and her neck. Started getting her adjusted. She responded great. And to this day, 20 years later, has not been on an antibiotic and has never taken an inhaler. My daughter Kenzie, she's 19 now. She's our firstborn, and when Kenzie was born, we delivered her at an alternative birthing center. So we had some hot tub time, and Sherry gave birth in a squatting position, not traditionally on her back with pelvis elevated in the air. I got to assist in the delivery with Kenzie, and after Kenzie was born, the cord wasn't cut. We let it finish pumping, then it was cut, and we found that she was having trouble nursing. I said normal vaginal delivery. She was having trouble nursing. She couldn't turn her head all the way to one side. And so I had checked her and adjusted her, a little atlas adjustment, little fingertip atlas adjustment, and her head could rotate both ways. And she wasn't wincing or crying anymore. And she started being able to nurse on both sides equally after that. Had she not been the child of a chiropractor or not been checked by a chiropractor, that subluxation would have affected how she was able to thrive, her ability to nurse, which then would have had ramifications on her immune system then and now, and bonding time, whole host of things there. But she's been getting adjusted since she's been moments old, and 19 now. Has proud to say that she's never ever once had an antibiotic in her body. Matthew on the far end there, he's 16 now. Similar, we had given birth to him at home. We had a group of midwives there with us, and his birth went fairly well, but a little more difficult than Kenzie's. Cord was wrapped around his neck. His head was a little blue when he came out. And to this day, he still has like a little bit of a tick in his neck. Sometimes he'll move around. And I think that goes back to the time in utero when that cord was around his neck. He's kind of our miracle kid because that cord, the umbilical cord, was just really hanging on by like an artery, and it detached, or one wrong move in that uterus, and he could have kicked that free. So anyway, Matt's 16 now, great kid, involved in athletics and just good overall kid. And he as well, at 16 years of age, has never had an antibiotic in his body, never has been on a medication like that ever. Both great kids. They've been sick and have had colds? Yes. That's their immune system learning the world, growing and developing. And they've had fevers and things like that. All of the things that we've talked about today, all of the things that I've done to take care of my family are the things that we do with our patients, the things that I recommend. I will never recommend, we as doctors at Chiropractic USA will never recommend for you or your family to do something that we're unwilling to do for our own family. So please, understand that we try to operate with the highest of integrity. And when you bring your family, when you bring your kids to us, just trust that information is true and sincere. So that's my family. All right. Another little guy here I want to show you is a dear friend of ours, Miss Gretchen. She works for our company as well. And this is her little man, Jackson. He's a little larger now, but he's been getting adjusted since just about a day old as well. But let me show you this quickly, and then we'll wrap up.
He eats his egg yolk every day, loves his egg yolk. And I gave him some avocado. He liked that too. Yeah, so since he'll be 6 months next week, so I'm going to research a lot. I'm going to take him off the formula at 6 months. So red we can shave like liver into that egg yolk.
Happy little guy. He loves getting adjusted. He gets checked usually once a week or so right now. And he's getting big and strong. eating really well. And when you look at him in comparison to other kids his age, he's stronger, he's more alert, his reflexes are just solid and on point. And again, not a credit to chiropractic, it's a credit to the human body when it's not interfered with, when it's not bogged down with medications and vaccines and heavy metals and other things. Healthy young guy, he's teething a little bit and a slimy mouth sometimes, but just great, happy little guy, great appetite, loves getting adjusted. And just I've had the honor and privilege to do this just hundreds or thousands of times over my career, and sometimes with a brand new baby. And this one, he's just he's at about 6 or 8 months now. So anyway, I just want to show you a little portion of him getting his adjustment in, and loves his adjustments. So next steps. Okay, if you have not gotten your kids checked, please get them checked by. If you're not in our area, let us know. We'll help you get to a chiropractor that checks kids, that is a pediatric chiropractor. But your kids need to be getting checked from the moment they're born through every stage of growth and development, and start cleaning out their body with toxic and deficient things and adding sufficient and pure things to it. And just watch how amazing they are and how quickly they respond, how quickly they heal, they repair, they adapt, they get stronger, healthier so quickly. Okay, so depending on the chronicity of health problems, it could take some of them a little bit longer, but again, the same principles apply. Okay, get rid of the bad stuff, add the good stuff, get their spine checked, get their nervous system healthy, and just watch these amazing creative kids grow and thrive. So I want to thank you for your time today on raising healthy kids naturally. Hope you enjoyed this. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just back out of this for just a second. And all right. Any questions that you have that you want to post, you can post questions. We'll be happy to come on back and answer them. And until next time, tomorrow night, 7 p.m., we will be back with you for boosting your immune system, bulletproofing your immune system. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Look forward to seeing you then. Dr. Gary.